small flashlight. The few remaining batteries in Blister Creek were reserved for two-way radios and other emergency use, but he'd found a camping flashlight that could be recharged by shaking it up and down for a minute or so. He resisted the urge to use it. Still too dangerous. The hall had windows. At last his hands found the carved oak door that opened into the Holy of Holies. He traced the carved sunstone on its surface until he located the cool iron handle. For a long moment, he was unable to move, afraid. Only the prophet and members of the Quorum of the 12 could enter the room. Here they met. Here they communed with angels. Rumor had it that the Lord himself would hold counsel with the prophet. "Come on, move." The sound of his own voice slapped Ezekiel from his paralysis. He took out his flashlight, shook it, then pushed open the door with one hand and turned on the light with the other. The LED bulb cast a thin blue beam across the Holy of Holies. He stepped in and let the door close behind him. Wooden benches ringed the room. Varnished wainscoting rose above the benches to the height of a man, after which the ceiling disappeared into the darkness, rising into the spire that topped the temple. His light swung to the center of the room. An aged cedar chest sat in the middle. Various symbols had been carved in its side. A moon with a face, another sunstone, all-seeing eyes, a compass and square. Cherubim, their wooden wings overlaid with gold leaf, perched on either end of the chest like sacred guardians. The chest had no lock. It needed none. If a man violated the sanctity of that chest, it was said, the cherubim would come to life and rip him apart. Inside lay the sword and breastplate of Laban. Only the one mighty and strong could put on the breastplate. Only he could heft the sword in his hand. Was that man Jacob Christianson? Was he the one mighty and strong foretold by prophecy? Jacob's father, Abraham, the old prophet and patriarch, had died in a violent struggle with the Kimball clan 5 years earlier, when Ezekiel was not yet married. Any doubts people had about Abraham's son Jacob taking over seemed to have vanished at the funeral, when the young man spoke with power and authority. People were openly weeping, claiming they could hear Brother Abraham's voice emerging from his son's mouth. But that night Ezekiel had found his own father creaking in his rocking chair on the porch, anxiously tapping a boot. A cloud of frantic moths and other flying bugs assaulted the porch light over his head, but he paid them no mind. Father looked up and blinked when he saw Ezekiel. "I don't know. I just don't know," he said. "Is he ready? Is he strong enough?" "Jacob?" Ezekiel asked. He hadn't given it much thought, but his father had long expressed reservations about the younger Christianson. Father nodded. "What is your worry?" Ezekiel asked. "That he only has one wife?" "Yes, that, for a start. Can't imagine that will last long. Now that he's prophet, everyone will be happy to offer their daughters. They've already offered daughters. Jacob declined to enter plural marriage. Says he's happy with Fernie." Ezekiel stared. "Happy with one wife? That's crazy." At that time, Ezekiel was still in that anxious point of life when he didn't yet have permission to marry his first woman. Jacob would later eliminate the practice of casting out the excess young men, but back then, until you were given your first wife, there was always the chance you would find yourself among the lost boys. It was natural to be envious of Jacob, with so many beautiful young sisters and half-sisters. Men would gladly trade their daughters and sisters for someone like Eliza Christianson. Ezekiel had a dozen sisters too, and plenty of men had wanted to marry Lillian and Lisbeth, but his father and his older brother, Bill, had been the beneficiaries of those trades, not Ezekiel. It staggered his imagination that a man would be offered wives and not take them. How else would you grow in stature in the sight of the Lord? How else would you fulfill the promise of Abraham, to see your posterity as numerous as the sand on the seashore, become a king and priest in the world to come, even a god?